On this episode, we are talking about the cost of success and what no one tells you about making more money. So, you and I have both been blessed to be able to have built companies, make money, make good money. But I know for me, no one told me, I don't know about for you, but no one told me that there's things that come along with making money. There's some pros, get to buy things that you love, travel, but there's some cons that are also inside of that. For you, what would you say was your first lesson or your biggest lesson when it came to making more money and realizing, like, oh, there's more to this than just saying I have a nice bank account?
Oh man, so I've had so many lessons related to money. Some of them I'm still learning, but right now I think about how much money I can keep. I was just talking to a friend recently, and she was like, "Yeah, what are your plans?" We talk about like professional goals, personal goals, like what are we up to? And I was like, "Oh yeah, one of my professional goals is to build even more liquidity, right?" Because I have a lot of investments. I have a lot of my money is like tied up in things, whether that be businesses, whether that be real estate, whether that be all these different companies I put my money in. And so I was like, oh, one of my goals is actually to create even more liquidity so I can do things further down the road without having to like untie that cash from something. And so that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned and some people will say like, I don't keep cash. Like I want all my money into something, but I just feel like in this market and climate, I need more cash, right?
Yeah.
To be able to access. And so that's what I've been focused on now is kind of like unlocking that.
Yeah. Well, clearly I ran a whole fintech company that was about people who preferred, unbanked or also people that preferred cash. My dad, old school,
Give me
give him
cash.
cash all day long. I think it's been such a also a thing with entrepreneurship. Even when you're making money, every year is not a great year.
Yes.
So up and down. So my biggest lesson, even going into the ups and downs of making more money and success and what it cost you, was actually at the Capway, and it was to the point where like I could touch so much money at one time, and then shutting that company down and knowing not only that to survive until I figure out what I'm doing next, but it's also the fact that I was taking care of people. Like I was the person that was making sure bills were paid and did all different things. So by far my biggest lesson financially in the world of entrepreneurship came within the last 2 or 3 years. And it's a psychological piece. It's emotional. It's a mental thing. It's like you gotta dig yourself out. It's how do I change my financial habits? So it's definitely I've had some good ones throughout the years, but definitely the one I think that shook me the most, probably for the better going forward now, has been in the last 2, 3 years.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, there's so many lessons in this conversation about what happens when people make more money. Like, what is the cost of making more money? Because I think there is a cost that comes along with it. For some people, it's like drastically increasing their lifestyle. For me, and I always say this, I like experiences. So the ability to be able to travel more, to do things more freely without constantly having to think about money was one of the things. Like freedom of money is why I always wanted to have it, like that freedom. But even more importantly, to do what you just said, right? To help your family and if they want something, they need something, to be able to give it to them. However, even that comes with a cost, because when you show the ability to be able to give to people, they will act and act and act. So I would love to know from you, like, how has making more money and having more money and people knowing it changed the dynamics of your relationships or what people expect of you?
Yeah, it has actually ruined quite a few relationships. I am working again, some big changes in the last 2 or 3 years. I have had to work on boundaries. And I think I actually mentioned this on Threads, like first of the year, which was like one of my biggest things for 2025 was creating boundaries. And I think I've done actually a great job of it in the first half of 2025. Still working through some things, but you're right. People will ask. And I have always been, I'm a giver. And they always say the worst thing that can ever happen to a giver is to meet a receiver. And I've met a lot of people who are receivers.
Got their hand out.
They got their hand out. And I have not done a good job of saying no. And part of it is not even, I wouldn't even say it's a guilt thing of saying, oh, I got money so I can give it. Part of it was saying like, well, I do have it. And so if this person license is about to get cut off, or, you know, they need help. Oh, it's only $100. It's only $20. It's only $250. And it's like, well, you got it. Like, that's not gonna really hurt you, Sheena, to get $250. But then even now, where I am now, I look back and it's like, I've given away, not let borrow money I would never see again.
Yes.
I have given away a lot of money. I honestly couldn't even tell you how much, but it's well 5 figures, 6 figures that I've given away. And I know for a fact I will never see it again. And the lesson in that also for me is, it's crazy. I had this conversation with my mom actually not too long ago, was that outside of my parents, if I fell on my face today, I don't know who I could turn to just go and be like, hey, I got it. Now, mind you, I do have some cousins and some people who've done really well for themselves. But it's not like the same way that so many people come to me
right,
and say, I need 20, I need 50, I need 100. I don't know if I can run to 10 people and say, hey, I need 20, I need 50. My pride is too high, number one.
Yes.
So there's that. But I also don't even know if I have enough family members I can run to and say, I need 20, 30. But I'm guilty of that. I have a hard time saying no. I have had a hard time saying no. You know, truth be told, we're headed to the studio, and what happens in the car?
Right.
Somebody calls.
Sheena definitely got a call where somebody needs some money, literally headed to shoot this podcast.
So, and that's my life. So if you go through my text messages, if you was to be around me, and it's anytime I'm around a friend, if I'm around them for more like a few days, eventually by the end of whatever we're doing, they're like, Sheena, you gotta set better boundaries, friend.
Yeah.
You got, and so I'm working on it, but the cost of money making more money, the cost for me has definitely been I've lost relationships when I finally said no. Because they're not used to Sheena saying no. It's always like, cool, I got it. Like, whatever, don't worry about it. And then you don't pay me back, even though I want to borrow money, you don't pay me back. And then it's like, now you acting shady with me because you didn't pay me back.
Right. Isn't that something?
Money.
Like, it kills me when people will act shady attitude because they didn't pay you back.
They didn't pay you. You don't pay me my money back, but you want to act crazy with me. So I have actually had some relationships that have soured.
Yeah.
Cost of money.
Yeah, and I'm with you on, like, I don't loan people money anymore. You know, in business, I think that's different, but like family members, I just consider it a loss. Or I give now because like, oh, I have it to give, and I only give what I feel like, oh, like I'll give this to you. However, the more money you make, the more people feel like you have to give them.
Yeah.
And so that $50 turned to $250, $250 turned to $1,000. I won't even say who it was, but like I had a family member who, this was like, I want to say maybe a year into the pandemic, so maybe like 2021 or whatever it was. And they reached out to me. Now, mind you, I am a big giver, right? Like you are. And so I constantly want the people around me to also benefit from my success, right? Yeah. And so my aunt, who's kind of like my mom passed away. And so when my mom passed away, you know, we gave her my mom's Explorer. And so this Explorer was like, she used to take me to high school. You know, like she had this Explorer when I was in middle school. And so my aunt was still riding it, Explorer, like over 20 years old. And, you know, I'm good for riding a vehicle. However, my aunt, who always looked out for me, always took care of me, never asked for anything. I bought her a brand new Explorer for Christmas. Like, that was my gift to her. Her car was newer than my car because, you know, I don't believe in new cars. But that was my gift to her. I would do that a million times. Another gift that I gave to my family was that I took them on all expense paid trip to Jamaica. And so I was like, I booked the hotel, the flight, I'm paid for everything. You just have to show up. So in the process of me doing this, I get a call from a family member who is also going on this trip, by the way. And they're like, oh, I'm behind on my bills. I really need to borrow some money from you. And I'm thinking like, how much could it be? Like, this person lives in the country. Like, how much could they be behind on their bills? Yeah. They asked for me for like $15,000, like, no doubt. And in my head, I'm thinking like, you only asked me for that much money
because I got it.
Because I can give it to you. You know what I mean? And because of what this person meant to me, I gave it to him. But it still left like this feeling in my heart, like, why are you behind on your? How are you even like in my head? I'm trying to do the math. And I'm like, the math is not math thing. But one thing I don't ask, if I'm gonna give somebody the money, use it for however you want to use it for. You're not that person.
No, if you ask me for some money,
you need to know exactly where it's going.
What do you need it for? Yeah. What is going on? And if you tell me none of my business, then you don't need none of my money. Like, I'm asking. I want to know, if you call and ask for my money, what are you doing with? Oh yeah, I'm asking.
Nope. Yeah, no, that is not the case for me. Like, if you ask me to borrow money, and as long as I know you're not going to go to a crack house somewhere and use it, I'm just going. If I was going to give it to you, I don't need to know what you're going to use it for, unless something's suspicious, right? And so, even though that was very suspicious to me, because I'm like, how do you get that far behind on your bills without being on the street? It just didn't make sense.
Listen,
but hey, right, people will and deal, they barter, they try to get through.
Rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right. Although in my head, I'm like, why didn't you come to me when you needed $1,000 or $1,200 or $2,000? Ultimately gave it to them. But what I realized a little bit later, maybe like a year or two later, they came back to me and was like, oh, I need this amount of money.
Wait, did they pay back?
No. I just gave it to them.
Okay.
I was like, don't worry about it. You're good on it. And so, a couple years, maybe like 2 years later, they're like, oh, I need to borrow, it was like $2,500 for something. And I'm like, what is that? That cannot cost that much money. And so I was like, you know what? Me trying to like set some parameters. I was like, how about I give you $1,000, then you could ask my brother for $1,000, and then ask your child for $500. I know they got it. You know what I mean? And so, I was like, closer to this time, I could give it to you. They was like, oh, I'll just wait for you. So this person did not want to ask my brother. They didn't want to ask their own child for it.
And you were going to get
it.
But
they wanted to ask me for it, one, because they felt like I had it like that more than my other sibling or their child, right? And so I'm like, okay, I got to undo this. Yeah. I can go ask Sevetri for everything and anything I want, even above my own children, even above my own siblings, who are also doing pretty well for themselves, by the way, because I've raised the bar too high, right? And I don't mind giving to people. It's just like, I feel like there's a difference when people feel like I can just ask you for it because you got it. Like, I'm entitled to it, right?
That's the thing. Like, I think that was, for me, it got to the point that I started to feel that people felt they were entitled. So I'm like you. Like, yes, we work hard, long nights, the lonely pieces, suffering in silence. We talked about that in season 1. But ultimately, like, you want to share your wealth, or you want to share your success with people. Like, who wants to be lonely at the top? Like, I know I don't. Like, that's just not my thing. However, my problem starts to come in when you start to feel like you're entitled to what I've built, because you weren't with me shooting in the gym. You were not up with me at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. You were not traveling and being told no. You didn't probably cry some nights when no one knew it because something was going wrong. Mm-hmm. And when employees are sleeping, you're up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., which is what we choose to do as founders, by the way. That's our choice. But when you feel like you become entitled to something that I have built, and then you catch an attitude if I say no, now I have a problem.
Yes. And I try to reserve it. I try to reserve like giving amongst like friends, family, etc. to either children or individuals who are in school, right? And much older, like elderly. Yeah. it's hard for me to give an able-bodied person money. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I feel like you get a job and you just want, it's very hard for me to give that type of person money. Even though I have, right? But I think that generally speaking, like the more money you make, and then also people don't realize like maybe your circumstances change.
Yep.
Like for me, I got married. Now we're trying to put money in other places, and so
Did that for you is interesting because I remember a conversation with one of the friends I'm speaking about who was like, Sheena, you gotta set boundaries. And I remember, I'm sure this is not verbatim, but it was something to the effect of, you do realize that once you get married and have kids, no man is going to put up with that.
Yes.
And then you got married. And so now you don't have to give us a whole full story, but like, does that change? Your husband was like, baby, it's your family and your friends. I love them, but...
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, like my family doesn't like, they're not nonstop like asking me for things. It's just like those spurts, right?
Yeah.
And so even I told my husband this last thing, he was like, yeah, we could, $7,000.
It's so silly already. Good God.
He was like, $7,000. We could spare $1,000. I was like, oh my gosh. But it's just the idea of, he was like, oh, well, they must really need it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, if somebody really needs it, then okay. But it's like, my brother got married. And so now nobody's asking him for stuff because he got married. I got married, but people still ask me. It's like, what? How does that play out?
This is back when Twitter was still existing. I did a tweet that went viral, and the tweet was about black tax. Mm-hmm. And again, this is not going to be verbatim, but the tweet said the difference is that when other black people, when my peers make money, when they get to the point they're making six figures or doing well for themselves, whatever that number may be, their money is not their money. Mm-hmm. Because now they become the golden child of the family where everyone feels like your six figures, it's my six figures, or your seven figures, or whatever the case may be. And I've seen that not just for myself or for you. I've seen with so many of my friends who look like us, that they're the first person in their family to go get a job that they're making really good money. And instead of them able to enjoy that money, it's almost like instead of making $100K, they're making $50K.
Yes.
Because $50K of that's going to like little brother, it's going back to mom to help pay bills. And the responses was almost like 50-50. You had like 50% of people being like, forget that. Like, once I make my money, that's my money. Like, I'm telling everybody, like, I don't care. Mm-hmm. And then you had the other 50% that's being like, well, you've made it, but your mom and dad helped get you there. They put you through school, or different cultures. It was like, what, I only got here because of XYZ, so why would I not go back and give? And so those responses, which I can't read, thousands and thousands of responses, has always stuck with me, because it was amazing, the divide of some people feeling like, no, you actually are entitled or responsible
for everyone that you might have rose up, faster than.
Your mom, your dad, whatever, your brother who helped you do your spelling bee, like whatever the case.
Yeah.
Culturally, it's your responsibility. So that was one side, and then like I said, you had the other side that was like, my money is my money. Like,
yes, I think that we are more of like, we're supposed to help our family, right? I'm 100% like that for sure. Hopefully, one day I'm in a position where everybody gets something, and now go do it. If you blow it, go blow it. I think it was like George Clooney who gave all his best friends $1 million. Yeah. Right. I would love to be able to give each of my friends $1 million, and Laura says the same. I'll be able to someday. And so I think about stuff like that, but it goes back to like the entitlement of like, oh, you have it. But it's one thing for me to like offer it. It's another thing for you to constantly ask for it. And I think that's the difference. Yeah. Particularly because I am a giver, and I often just like give freely. And so I do think that we kind of tend to, and Black people in general are always about like, oh, I got to take care of my family first and foremost. And that's why I work so hard to be able to do that. And I think that's relevant.
And generational. Because it's a sports fan. I remember, I can't remember, it was maybe Kyle Korver, but it was a story of when they was doing, like, talking about the money of their contracts as NBA players, and Kyle Korver, who's a white guy, how he was like surprised, or it was so like fascinating to him, or like mind-boggling to him, that when he would hear the black players talk about like, oh, I got to buy my mom a house, or I need to go get my mom out of debt, or like I finally made it, so I got to go do X, Y, Z for my family. Whereas for him, it was kind of like, wait, not saying that white sports players or other races also don't go back and take care of their families because they're in debt or something like that, but the generational of, for the majority of, we know the numbers of black families.
Their mom probably already got a house that's paid off.
And so I mean, this is not, it's not just saying black and white. The numbers of the economic numbers support, what I'm saying is most of us, when we do make it, is like, oh, I finally can get my mom that house. I can finally get my mom that car. And once again, I won't say it is a thing for me. I'm just a giver. And it's like, I always want to make sure that the people around me are taken care of. But again, I've had those relationships that are sour because of.
And the real issue is really, when you think about it, I'm always like, ask me for what you need, not for what you want.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big difference sometimes because people think you have it. So now they're not just asking you for what they need. They ask you for extra stuff, like for what they want, right? And if you got nieces, I got godchildren and nieces, they gonna ask for what they want. That just is what it is. But if you are a grown adult, please do not ask me for what you want. Like, if you need something, that's a difference, right? Yeah. And so that's where I try to try to think about like, okay, what are you asking me for? Is this something that you need, or is it something that you just want to have?
And it's so crazy though, because even though I am a giver, and I've given, I can't ask. I'll never forget when I first moved to Austin. I moved to Austin, Texas, and Sheena Allen I was bootstrapping it, hadn't raised any money, but the company was making money, so I was able to pay my bills off of what the company was making. So I would pay myself and be able to pay my bills. And I remember, once again, entrepreneurship life, up down, up down. It was a moment that the company wasn't doing well, so I wasn't paying myself.
Right.
Life of a CEO. And I can remember my account had got like really low. Mm-hmm. And mind you, this is also on the back of me leaving Mississippi to go do tech against my dad's wishes.
Right.
Who had cut me off at this point. He was like, okay, you want to go figure it out?
Right.
Not on my dime. Not on my dime. So I couldn't call him to be like, Dad, can you pay my rent this month or whatever the case, which I wouldn't have anyway. But I knew I couldn't.
Yes.
Not saying he wouldn't. But I remember my account had got pretty low, and my pride and my ego was too prideful to even call my mom to say, Mom, I haven't paid myself in a few months. I'm trying to get the company back on track.
I'm with you.
And
with that.
I didn't tell my mom this until maybe a few years ago. I was in a 1-bedroom apartment in Austin. This is back when eBay was still big. So this is 2012, 2013. That I had like some Dooney and Burke bags, I had some Coach bags, I had some Ray-Bans. I had just like, it really kind of came back out like it was a big thing. I went and sold everything I could on eBay.
Yep.
And I was able to pay my rent and be good. And I never told anybody.
Yeah.
Never told a soul. Literally just told my mom this story a few years ago.
Oh, yeah. Like, people don't understand how hard entrepreneurship is. Like, all they see is like the shiny things, right? Because I said the same thing about, when I was building Mazilia, and I was trying to pick, we were like such, at the very beginning, when we hadn't raised money and we were trying to like bridge, and you got to pay all these people. You're trying to keep your the company going so you can get to that next milestone and hit it. And ultimately we did, but you get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm taking out borrowing against my my mortgage. I'm like foregoing paying my mortgage, trying to like time it just right because I need to use that money to pay employees and all these different things. And on top of that, you will still have people asking you for money.
Yeah,
and they don't even know. Like, I literally
I'm barely making it here.
am barely hanging on, and you're asking me for money.
Yeah,
And so even like when I think about right now. And we're both like exploring like new things, right? We're building new ventures, and it takes investment up front to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so with, this venture, we're investing money without making money. With another venture that I'm working on, I've invested well over like 6 figures, right? And every time you think you're only going to need this much, you might as well double it, because whatever you think your initial investment is going to be in something to get it off the ground, you end up spending so much more than that because you just see it, right? You're like, oh, I know if I could just put this a little bit, if I could just get to this next point, I'm going to be able to take it to the next level. And we have had the benefit of that actually happening. Yeah. And so continuously like, okay, how much we need to try to get it to that
and
point.
We're blessed. We work to get here.
Yes.
But we're blessed to be able to say, okay, we're going to start grits. We're going to start XYZ. Cool. Let's put up, we're not going to make money in the first month, 2 months, 3 months, but the vision. And we've been able to work our way up to be able to make those investments. But people understand, like, those are upfront investments. So if you come to me and be like, can I get $20K? No, because I'm trying to put $20K into something that's going to give me $2 million.
Correct.
In the next year or two.
Yes. And so for me, I'm pulling out of, my savings, other accounts, because I don't get like a salary right now, right? So I'm just pulling out of my cash flow, other places, et cetera, to be able to pay for all these different things until I become in a position to be able to do that, right? But that's a choice I make, right? Because that is entrepreneurship. That is what you do, and that is what we signed up for. Now, I have a question for you. What do you feel has been your biggest money mistake? Like, oh, I got some money, we finally got some money. What do you feel has been like your biggest financial mistake that you made along the way as you began to make more money?
So, to know me is to know that I love cars. Absolutely love. Like, I have a list of cars that I'm like, yeah, once as I'm rebuilding here, there's a list. And my list is not like, the list is like, not just like G-Wagon. I'm talking like Lamborghini Urus, like Bentley, like it's pretty, like I love cars. My biggest mistake though, at the same time, was a purchase of a car. So 25, 26, somewhere there, definitely my 20s, was doing really well for myself. Entrepreneurship had paid off for me, and I had ventures going, doing well for myself. And I bought a brand new, when I say brand new, I'm talking like 5-10 miles, enough for them probably to drive it to make sure like the car worked well or something. I bought a brand new BMW 4 Series 428i off the showroom floor. Dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Now I will say, just because this is Rich Lessons, I don't know if I would ever buy a brand new car ever again. I will buy a certified pre-owned car. My Range Rover was a certified pre-owned. It had little to no miles on it, but it wasn't brand new, so therefore I didn't have to pay the money. Because another Rich lesson: the minute you drive that brand new car off that lot, the depreciation should be illegal. Yeah, like it drops so bad the minute you drive off that lot that it's absolutely ridiculous. So I would never, I don't know if I would ever, I have $10 billion. I don't know if I would ever buy a brand new car. Certified pre-owned with 4,000 or 5,000 miles, yes. A brand new car with 2 miles, probably never. Well, my biggest financial mistake was making a lot of money, finally, my 20s, doing well for myself, going to buy a brand new BMW off the showroom floor. My car note was like right at $900.
Right. And this was like 10 years ago.
This was like 10 years ago.
Which today is probably like having a $1,500 note, right?
Yeah, probably higher. Because inflation is horrible. Dumbest mistake ever. And I just remember paying that car note and just being like, first month or two, it's like the honeymoon phase. It's like, I don't care about this. Like, I've done well for myself. I'll pay this $900. And then it's like, as the months goes on, time goes on, it's like, Sheena, why? Like, why did you do this? And I eventually ended up getting rid of that car for Audi. I drove an Audi A5, but the Audi A5 was a used Audi A5.
And I'm a little nervous with used cars because I'm like, I don't want this car to break down on me. Somebody had turned it in, and they turned it in because something was wrong with it.
But that's why I certified pre-owned.
Yeah.
So I'll do a certified pre-owned. So I ended up trading that car in and getting an Audi A5, which was a used car. But yeah, that was having a $900 car note in my 20s. didn't own a home, was still, well, at the time, where was I? I was living in Austin at the time. And I just told the story of what ended up happening while I was in Austin. Ended up having to not take salary for a while because it was kind of getting the company back on track. But yeah, it was.
That was it.
That was it. What was yours?
Oh, man. So many different things. I would say my most costly use of money has also kind of been my biggest blessing, too. So I don't know. It's just like the type of money I poured into my companies early on. I just did not know the way to do it properly. And eventually I learned, right, over time, like, oh, you can like loan your company money and all these different things, techniques that I've learned to be able to recoup some of the money. But the financial hardship of like ruining my credit for years because I was just like focused on trying to grow this business and putting everything I had into this business. And then when I wanted to go buy stuff, everything I wanted to buy was so expensive because I didn't have an 800 credit score, right? Because I was taking all my finances and like dumping in this company. So if I had a student loan, I'd push that back. I would do defer this, all in my personal life, which was probably one of the worst financial decisions. Although later it paid off. The pain and agony that I suffered because I didn't have A1 credit for my like mid 20s, right? Was probably like mid to like late 20s was probably like the biggest headache of my financial decision making ever. Now most people are like, oh, well, it paid off in the end. Yeah, but I do think had I been more knowledgeable about how to do things, that I could have went about it a different way and that wouldn't have happened, right?
What would she have changed?
Like Tia said, right? You could actually talk to people and set up payment arrangements and like ensure that you don't fall behind where, and you know, entrepreneurship is interesting because you can go from broke to making a lot of money like that, right? And so that would happen to me. So I would go to like using all my money in cash and just like all the money I was making and pouring it back into the company. And then fast forward 6 months, I would know it would be coming, right? If I could just hold out, I would know it would be coming. And so I would be able to take the money that I made, that lump sum, and just like pay off everything. Yeah. But one thing you can't pay off is credit. Like once you do damage to it, it's going to always be like that. So it took me years to get my credit back into like the mid 700s. I'll never see the 800s again. I feel like because credit is a scam, right? I'm like, I don't have any debt.
Yeah.
And I still can't get to 800 credit score.
You probably like, need more credit cards so that your utilization is your debt to income. I know. I
have credit, right? So I have, credit cards that I use for here and there, but I don't have debt.
But you gotta show that
I hear you. It's a setup, people. It's a setup.
It's a setup. You how to get your credit back to you have to show that's the way the credit system is set up. I don't agree with it myself.
I know you're a fintech woman. I know.
I run a whole fintech company, and I don't agree with the way the credit system is set up. I personally think we can do a whole episode on things that I think is a scam. I think insurance is a scam. I think the credit system is a scam. I think our food system is a scam. They're trying to kill us, but it's a whole different thing.
So again, I'm just not going to trade out debt to get a 800, credit score. So it's, hey, somebody out there, if you know, no, because they be trying to sell you.
Yeah.
Trying to get your credit score.
My dad's like that though. My dad, who has always mainly had cash, when my parents divorced, he wanted to buy a home, but the home was my mom's name, and my dad's always been a big person on just I want my cash, like I'm not. So he never had it wasn't that he had bad credit. He just really didn't have credit.
He didn't have credit.
He was in the position of he's the person that didn't have credit. He had no credit card. My dad did not. It's crazy now doing fintech. We grew up with my dad was wholly against credit card. Mm-hmm. It was taught, like ingrained in us. If you cannot afford it, you cannot afford it. There's no such thing as a credit card. Mm-hmm. You have your cash, you have your debit card if you decide to get a bank account. If you can't swipe that card, you can't pull that cash and pay for it, you can't afford it. Yeah. So my dad was hard on no credit card. So he didn't have credit because that was his mindset. They got divorced, and it was time for him to like go out and kind of be on his own. You know, I guess you'll say he had to get a credit card, and even to this day, it's like he has great credit, but I have to remind him sometimes, like, Dad, use your credit card.
Yes.
Like, because
So he can use it, utilize it.
So because I'm connected to all of his things, like, I get the message from his credit card company that says, if you don't swipe the card pretty much in the next 60 days, we're going to deactivate your... So
and I'll use my credit card because flights, miles, stuff like that. So I'll use it and just pay it off, right? Yeah. And so I think that, and shoot, I will say, I've always had a credit card primarily because as soon as you touch down in college, they actually got rid of that, right?
Yeah, it's illegal now.
It's illegal now where you can't have credit card companies selling 18-year-olds. Sign up for this Visa, sign up for this MasterCard, right?
And get a T-shirt in a car with a $500 credit limit to an 18-year-old.
Right, you can't get a loan, but you can get this credit card without your parent, but you can get this credit card, you know? And so I think that... my biggest financial lesson was like credit. And when I first started like using my credit, it was great. And I was able to, you know, I bought my first condo when I was 24 and I bought my first car, and all these different things. So it was like working out for me. But then I started a company. I started a company, right? And so I always think that that was like my rich lesson. And if I could have done something different, I would have done that a lot differently, for sure.
When you were able to, you know, invest the money into your companies, it paid off. And you started to see the money in the bank. Mm-hmm. And whether it was you was making investments or not, you just knew like, I got it now. Like,
yeah.
Were you, because I feel like there's two different types of people. There's the person that's like, even though it's there, because I have never had it, or especially never had it to that level, I'm so scared of losing it that like I'm not spending anything.
Yes.
Or are you the person that's like, ooh, I finally got it, I am about to like just ball out. Like,
no, I'm not a ball out person. I ball out on investments. Like, although to my point earlier, I said that, you know, I took my family on a trip. I did stuff for other people. My big money balling out was buying real estate and was making investments, right? So that's one thing I will say. I've never like splurged for myself in the way where I feel like some people are like, oh yeah, I did this. Like, you know, I drive a 12-year-old Jeep.
That is falling apart.
That's falling apart. I'm gonna have to finally break down. Well, it didn't broke down to the point. It's kicking me out. Like, I got to get a new car.
I cannot wait for this episode. I'm clipping this and sending this to all of your friends because I feel like we are all just like,
it's time.
Sevetri, please, Sevetri, please get rid of the Jeep.
I don't want to let my white thunder go, you know. I just want to hold on to her forever. But she is breaking down on me, y'all. Y'all have no idea. To the point where my husband don't even drive it. He don't want to drive it because he said, this is not safe. Like, why are you driving this car? So I will be getting a new car for the first time in 12 years. So it is going to come. I
cannot wait. First off, I want to say, I want to note the date of this because you've been actually saying that, though, for like 3 years.
I've been getting a new car for 3 years. But here's the thing. Every time I think that it's ending point, I figure out a way to fix it. And get back on that road. You hear me?
It's time. It's past time.
Yeah. And also, I drive in New Orleans, but like, you know how you drive distances? I don't really have a lot of long distances to do. So if I do, I'll just like drive Austin's truck. So, but it is time, I must admit. So I will be getting a new car. But I generally don't like splurging on things like that. And to be honest, I probably have splurged a little bit too much on investments. And I am kind of moving a little bit more to be I'll never be a safe investor, right? There's nothing safe about investing in startups. It just isn't safe. It's nothing safe in investing in like businesses because most of them fail. I think I'll always do that, but I am trying to think strategically around what are safer investments I can also make.
Kind of like the thread that I did about like laundromats, like those things that are considered more safer, recession-proof. That's not tech. So I'm with you. If the investments for me going forward, I think we're on the same boat. Like I'm not saying I would never invest in a startup. Clearly, LPs are investing in a startup here and there.
Yes.
But the safer, recession-proof, level of investments. Again, parking lots, laundromats. I would go more that route.
And it's kind of like you have to catch a deal when it's coming, right? Because I think that's one of the harder things when people are investing. It's like, oh, how do you catch something at the right point where the investment actually makes sense and you can actually turn the investment, right? And so I think about that. And, my banker just brought me something. He was like, oh, Vista Equity, which is Robert F. Smith's fund. So they're opening up some opportunities for Black investors to invest at a smaller minimum, right? So starting at $25,000 and up. Now, I just said what I just said. I'm kind of going to stop investing in outside stuff so that I can build my liquidity up, right? And here I am like, oh, man, I need to get in that. Yeah. And so I need to do some. My wheels still just want to put everything into investments that I have. And so I am trying to find that balance. And honestly, this may be bad thinking, but my mindset is all about, oh, you want to still invest? Oh, you want extra liquidity and cash in the bank? Just make more money.
Yeah. And
so I am an entrepreneur through and through. Yep. My goal is always to just make more money.
Yeah. I had a conversation last week with a friend, and he asked me the question. He said, "What's your number?" And I said, "What do you mean? What's my number?" He said, "What's enough money? Like, what's your number?" And I said, there is no such thing as enough money.
What, Sheena? Now I don't believe that. You got to have a number.
There's no such. Here's the thing for me. It's not actually about the money, because I don't feel that money does anything for you. It's the number one stressor in America is finance. It's people who are stressed financially.
100%.
So it's a true fact. However, it's also true, and we both have friends who are wealthy. Money does not buy happiness. And I know people love to say the thing like, well, give me the money, let me find out. And I actually wish that people, if it was possible, that everybody could have $100,000 at one time or $1 million at one time, and truly realize that after you bought everything that you wanted, you are back in the exact same place. I know plenty of wealthy people, and I promise you, like, do I still want to make more money?
Yes.
You bet. But am I chasing money parallel to chasing happiness?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And no, not at all. My wanting to make more money, it is having to take care of people around me, which we clearly just talked about this. Wanting to take care of people around me. But I also am a realist. Money equals power.
Yes.
And for me, I don't like asking for permission. So give me my money, give me my power, let me make the impact and do what I want to do. And I don't need to ask you for anything. So my chasing of money or my pursuit of money is way more about power and impact than happiness. It has zero to do with happiness. I would like to make other people happy by taking stress away from them, by being able to help pay a bill, pay off a mortgage. Which is why I'm a huge fan of Tyler Perry. I love when I see him go pay off somebody's mortgage, the 85-year-old lady whose house is about to get taken away. And it's like, let me pay that for you. That's what I aspire to do.
Yes.
Like, that's me. I'm not chasing money for happiness. So I don't have a number. Because for me, I want an unlimited amount of power.
Right.
Because I want to do what I want to do and not ask you for anything.
So you say power, impact. I would add freedom. As like my top one. But to do some of the things that you talked about, right? To not have to ask, to not have to need anything from anyone else. And I do like the conversation around, yes, one of the biggest stressors for people is finances. I always say that there's not enough therapy, there's not enough spa days that's going to resolve the problem of worrying about your lights, whether or not they're going to be on tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so when people's like, oh, women, you need a spa day, you need to focus on your mental health. There is not enough focus on mental health that is going to change the fact that someone is stressed out about how they're going to afford to pay their rent
Yeah.
Right? There's just not enough therapy or spa days that's going to solve for that. And so I do think that like the driving factor around how do people make more money or make a living income so that they can take care of the things that they need to for themselves and their family is like the driver of like why I want to make money and why I also want to make more money. And yeah, I know Tyler Perry gets a lot of flack. I just watched, whatever the last show was on Netflix, which is crazy.
I love that show. Black, was it Beauty and the Black? I love it's a little it's interesting, but I love that show.
I don't know about love, but I think it's hilarious because it reminds me of like, remember those old school shows where they had to say like pow, boom, smack. That's what that show reminds me of. It reminds me of like all my friends got together and was like, you gonna play a stripper, you gonna play this, you gonna play that. First time acting, this is what we're gonna do. Boom, do it.
Oh my God.
That's what it reminds me of. So I think it's actually hilarious. But I am a huge supporter of Tyler Perry, who's also from Louisiana, for what he has done and how he has given back. They said he was at Angie Stone's funeral and said, where's her money?
Yeah.
Where's her money? Somebody, please, if my money is missing and I'm dead, ask some people where my money is because I'm going to need all them pennies to go to my family, okay?
I actually love that he did that because Angie Stone had done a video not too long before her passing that was calling them out, saying like, there's no reason I should have to
even have
tour
to be
and have to keep doing this because I know I've made enough money to be able to sit down.
Yes.
And she was done wrong. So I actually love the fact that he got up there at her funeral to reinforce what she had already said, before her unfortunate passing. Like, where is her money?
Yeah.
Like, yes, she is gone. She's no longer in an earthly body, but run them coins.
Run her coins, okay? And it's never too late for somebody to go back and try to make things right. But I also think about something, I'm in this fellowship Aspen Institute called Henry Crown, and the person that runs our seminar, she was super successful as well. And I was like, oh, what brought you to want to run this fellowship? Because she essentially, her job and her career, she was a turnaround person. So she would go into companies that were being taken over and she would be the one to go in and turn them around, right? So she made a lot of money doing that. And I was like, oh, why are you here? And she said, I had my number. And when I hit my number, I stopped working. And she was like, everybody else had a number and they kept pushing back the goal line. But she said, me, when I hit my number, I was out.
You have a number?
I think I have a range. I have a range of what I'm trying to get to. And I think, and who knows? Because once you accomplish one thing, you think about like, oh, now once you make money, your money can make money.
Yeah.
And so I think that to be in a position to have more money that makes more money to do other things and continuously have those different streams of income coming in is like my ultimate goal. And so like one of my early investors, he was like, Sevetri, I have so much money, I could throw away money. Tomorrow I would have more money than I had yesterday.
Wow.
And he don't work. So
yeah, the interest off of the money that they already. I mean, I met a angel who family money.
Interest, yeah.
And he says, well, I was talking to him about his investments, and he says, well, I only invest our interest. And I was like, what do you mean by this? And this is like early into me, getting to this space. And he's like, yeah, like, my family does X. We have a family office. But the money that goes to the family, like that we are allowed the kids to invest, like the things that we like particularly want to invest in, it's the money that is made off of the interest.
Yes. And for me, I want to do the reverse. I want to live off my interest and then take my other money to do other things with.
But it was just amazing at the number from interest.
Right. Anybody can live off of it.
And I was like, wow. Like it was enough for him to invest in several companies.
Yeah.
Several companies at $25,000, $50,000, $100,000. And that was money off just interest.
Yes. And so, as we kind of wrap up this episode, I've already pinged my private wealth bankers and let them know we got to get them on the podcast so that they'll come and talk about all of this. And we can go into depth about like interest and what does that mean and how do you make your money work for you and how people who just have, good corporate jobs, because I think people think you have to make so much money to begin to invest and make your money work for you. But like my friend who's a financial advisor and manager, he was like, he works with people who work in the plants, and because they're on those turnaround shifts, they're bringing in like 80, 90, 100, $120,000 with no college degree.
Yeah.
And they live a very like simple life, and they just have all this money kind of sitting. And he was like, you could have that in an interest-bearing account and be letting that money work for you. And so you don't have to be ultra wealthy or a millionaire to make your money work for you. And I think that is like the biggest rich lesson of them all.
That's a whole lesson in itself. That's a whole episode in itself.
Yeah, so we'll get there.
But yeah, you know, like this episode, more money, more success. What does it mean? I think we've both had some ups and downs. The entrepreneurship life, again, is a roller coaster in itself. But I mean, for me, my rich lessons in the lessons that I've learned along this time is boundaries. I'm working on it. Like I say, working on it in 2025. I don't have a number, so the pursuit of money is still there. But I'll just reiterate again, I don't chase money or pursue money in pursuit of happiness. It's for impact. It's for freedom. It is to take care of people around me. Like, I can't even lie. Like, I just don't want people to come to me in the sake of wanting, not needing, and not feeling entitled. But my success is making sure the people around me is also well taken care of. Like, that is success for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you.
You have a rich lesson?
That's it. I think we've said so many rich lessons on this episode, but we could continue. But all those things, I think, wrap up this episode well. So thank you all for tuning in.
Boom.
Until next time.